This is AM Agenda. Thanks for your company. With me this morning, Ed Husic and Josh Frydenberg. Let's go to Tony Abbott's speech in China yesterday. He made some comments about foreign government investment in Australia. Also suggested that China has not been as fast in terms of its political reform as its economic reform. Fair points and a lot of analysts make similar points, but as John Garno in the Sydney Morning Herald puts it this morning, Josh, few political leaders have said as much so openly in China. Is it really going to be received well by the authorities in Beijing?
Look, I absolutely think it will be. Tony Abbott is making an important trip both to Washington and to China, and his messages are consistent there, which is we don't need to choose between our history and our geography. We are an ally of the United States and loyal to that alliance, but we also have a very productive and friendly relationship with China, and that is where our economic future is. And I think Tony was sending a very positive message about foreign investment, namely that Australia wouldn't be able to develop its natural resources sector, its agricultural sector, without foreign investment. And that includes Chinese foreign investment. And he's talked specifically about opening the north of Australia up as a food bowl to export agriculture to the region and getting Chinese investment to the north. So I think it is a very positive message that Tony is sending, and I think it will be well received.
On his first visit, though, Josh, to say that there hasn't been enough progress on political transformation, for example, was that really the right time or place to send it?
Well, he's saying what he believes, and the truth is that they don't.
But is diplomacy about saying what you believe?
Well, look, it is at the right time and in the right forum.
Diplomacy? When hasn't a bullhorn worked with diplomacy? I mean,
look,
kudos. Bravo,
Let's let Josh finish.
Bravo. I think you're doing a great job trying to say that this is a positive approach.
Josh, you finish your point and I'll come back to Ed.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the point is we have consistently, both sides of politics, talked about our human rights differences with China. We have a particular dialogue about that. We would like, obviously, to see more democratic reforms in China and more political freedoms to go with the economic freedoms that are coming.
This way. Give me a break.
So what Tony has said is absolutely legitimate, and it's consistent with what he said in Washington too.
Let's go to Ed now. Ed, I do want to say, though, pick you up on a point there. You said you haven't done it this way. Kevin Rudd went to Peking University and lectured the Chinese about Tibet.
Yeah, and there was a great reaction, and there was a great reaction to that approach as well. I mean, I think certainly in terms of this, what intrigues me in terms of Tony, and it was a good effort by Josh to try and make this look like it was a positive approach that was being taken by Tony Abbott. But let me say this: he went to a business council and made these comments, and I'd be interested to know if he's actually expressed these views to China's ambassador in Australia here and sort of outlined the approach and been able to push his views in that way. And the other thing is too, I mean, some of the comments he made about foreign investment are just simply boneheaded. I mean, this argument that, for example, he's going to take a hard line on state-owned enterprises from China investing in Australia, taken to its, an extension of that argument, it's sort of like arguing within Australia that state-owned enterprises should invest in other states.
That is not what he was saying, Ed.
And
no,
arguing,
that was not what he was saying.
No, it's not. This is exactly the line of argument that's coming out of your side of politics that is trying to weave in these sinister approaches about investment, foreign investment, and claiming that this is a bad thing when the facts don't even stack up with it.
Ed, what Tony Abbott said, though, to defend the comment, and I think Josh was going to make this point, but I'll intervene, it's just that he says that foreign governments or its agencies... but it says that the foreign government or its agencies should control an Australian business. Correct. It's not invest in, it's control. So it's a different
what are we splitting hairs
point.
Here, are we? So if investment crosses the line into control, then that's an issue. I mean, this is like saying that QIC,
it was your side of politics.
This is like saying QIC, Queensland Investment Corporation, state-owned corporation, investing in all parts of the country, if they have a stake in a firm or a business in here, that we shouldn't accept it. Let's face this, let's call this for what it is. He is trying to play off elements that have concern about Chinese investment and trying to play off that for domestic political gain. That's what it is.
That is
Okay,
not
let's
true.
go to Josh.
Kieran, can we just put some facts on the table?
Please, it'd be a good change.
The sensitive issue is around agriculture, and we have to understand in Australia only 11% of our agriculture is owned by foreign interests.
Exactly.
That's up from 5.5% in 1984. When it comes to agri-businesses like sugar milling or wheat exports or beef production, it's around 50 to 60%, so it is much higher. So, I mean, in Australia, we shouldn't be deterring foreign investment, and Tony completely understands that, because in order to develop that agribusiness or develop that agricultural land, we will need foreign finance and foreign expertise to come in, just like as we have in our resources sector. So what Tony was actually saying is he doesn't want foreign governments controlling enterprises in Australia, just like he doesn't want the federal Australian government owning enterprises in Australia.
I mean,
that's not how we want.
That's
but
fine,
we
Josh.
do,
You're
we
saying
do
that,
want foreign
you're
investment.
saying that contrasted to the type of talk that comes out of Barnaby Joyce and the Nationals on this issue. And you'll see that this is precisely what I'm talking about, that it's trying to whip up this hysteria. I mean, you rightly pointed to the fact that when you look at the ownership, when you look at how much food is produced, it's produced by Australian interests, owned by Australian interests, water rights overwhelmingly owned by Australian interests. And the fact of the matter is, this is a similar type of debate that we had in the 80s over Japanese investment, and it's now being replicated with Chinese investment. And here we are saying we need to move closer into the region and work closer with the region. And we have these type of debates going on, which I think are immature and do not support our longer-term interests.
Josh, there are people in your coalition, as Ed pointed out, who, just quickly, the Nationals aren't too fussed about foreign investment in our farmland, are they?
Well, no, I think they do want it. I mean, I think we need to have a bipartisan approach here. I'd like to work with Ed and others on his side to have a bipartisan approach here, because when it comes to agriculture, we export 60% of what we produce. It's worth more than $25 billion of export income to Australia every year. Now, we want that to continue, and with Tony Abbott's plan to develop the North as a food bowl, there is a great opportunity. So why don't we work both sides together in a constructive manner on this issue of food security?
So when you say
foreign investments worked in the past.
So, Josh, when you say both sides working together, do you mean Liberals and Nationals working together?
Liberals, Nationals and Labor.
Let's move on. I want to talk about the recent banter that's been going around, the scuttlebutt about the leadership. Yesterday, I was told by a senior Gillard supporter, Ed Husic, that last week was a form of political terrorism from the Rudd camp, with Joel Fitzgibbon's comment, Mr Rudd's appearance in the Women's Weekly, and then Nick Champion's article later in the week. It was described as a form of political terrorism to tear down Julia Gillard. What do you say to that?
I think everyone needs to tone it down and get focused on the fact that we need to basically lift our performance and ensure that through these difficult political times that we're able to move ahead. And I don't think any type of comment like that is helpful whatsoever. Let's just stick to what we're here to do, which is govern and govern well.
But well, this was obviously in response to the primary vote being at 28%, trying to, I suppose, deflect some of the negativity around that.
Well, they can't deflect it for much longer. I mean, I think Paul Kelly in the Australian got it right today, Kieran, when he said for the Labor Party it was Kevin Rudd or oblivion. When you look at Julia Gillard's prime ministership, it's like a slow-moving train crash. We know they're going to get her in the end. It's just a question of time. And as you say, there's elements of political terrorism. But from our side of the fence, it doesn't matter who's the leader of the Labor Party. They've still got the same destructive policies. So we just want to get on with an election sooner than later.
I was told, Ed, that even if Kevin Rudd is returned, that those that are in the Gillard camp know how to do it back, so the undermining won't stop.
Look, I'm not going to, in terms of any of those comments that are said behind the scenes, I'm not going to entertain or engage in responses to it. I think the biggest challenge we have is to get on with the job of governing, making sure that we do it in a way that lifts support in what we're doing. And as for policies, Josh, if Tony Abbott can actually think of a policy that John Howard didn't think of first, it'd be great to see.
Do you agree with Nick Champion, though, that the caucus is sitting and waiting for the political tsunami?
Look, I'm not here to comment on every a single comment made by my colleagues. What I did take out of what Nick was saying the other day is being able to have a policy framework and be able to push ideas and get the support of people through the work that you do, and that's what we've got to do. I mean, we're out today, for example.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, guys. Thanks for that this morning. We'll wrap it up. Ed Husic, Josh Frydenberg, have a good day.
Thanks, Kieran.
We're going to cross to the Queensland Premier now.